welcome everyone to the first episode of Reflections on Art. Today we are going to talk about why do people think my art should be free? This is something a lot of artists, musicians, comedians have encountered as a problem, but we're going to be focusing on this problem from a visual art perspective. I'm Melissa Corbett. I'm an artist who lives in Spain, and I would love to introduce you to Chiara and Tatiana. Chiara, can you say hello to everyone?
Hi everyone. Good day, good evening, whatever time is in your time zone.
Chiara, can you give a brief intro of your experience as an artist and selling your artwork?
Yeah, sure. I actually am really new as an artist, and right now I'm selling small paintings. And my experience is I made sales mainly through internet without any representation, and I got seen through Instagram and through my website, and yeah, I am just starting. What I see is the reaction to people to knowing that I'm starting this career as an artist, and I have seen similar reaction from different people and from different countries. So it's a very interesting topic, the one we are talking tonight.
Well, actually, you're the inspiration for this first episode as far as the topic is concerned, because you started quite a discussion about this on a Facebook group. So
yeah, actually, because I was very pissed off by a friend that was getting out and asking stuff for free.
And we will be talking about this later. All right, Tatiana, would you like to briefly introduce yourself and your experience as an artist?
Hi, I'm Tatiana. I live and work in Portland, Oregon in the United States, and I have been making paintings for about 7 years. And as soon as I started making paintings, I started selling them because I like the process of making, but I don't like storing the artwork. So for me, the two have always gone hand in hand. And I am also self-represented. I have curated shows for other artists, but I always have taken the commercial side of things as an artist entrepreneur in my own hands and never really waited for someone else to create the market for me. I create my own market. I sell at local events. I've also exhibited internationally, but majority of my sales definitely come either via social media, the internet, in other ways, as well as in-person events locally.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to get both a European and an American perspective on experiences of being artists. Why do you think the general public doesn't value artists as professionals? Or do you think they do value artists as professionals? What's your experiences been? We'll start with Chiara.
Okay. Well, in my experience, and I'm talking mainly about Italy, sometimes I have the feeling that we are so surrounded by so many masterpieces in Italy that we don't value, we expect artists to do certain things in a certain way, so we don't really value much modern art, contemporary, and we also have so much the idea of very expensive things in the museums, etc., that we don't expect that we could have something like that in our homes. I think it's well, I mean, probably the most famous painters, artists that we come to mind in Italy is probably, apart from the masters, it's also like the Impressionists. And from the Impressionists, probably we have the idea that artists have to starve. So I have the feeling that's also an idea that artists will get famous after they die. So
Yeah.
that's I don't know. I feel maybe we are so much surrounded by art that we don't notice that anymore, and so we tend to undervalue what we could actually have in our houses, unless we know, unless people really know artists. I have the feeling also artists, they may be a bit separated for other realities. They tend to be very working by themselves, etc. So maybe it's not even easy to get in contact with artists and get to know them and see how they work and what they do, and so value their work.
Okay, so people kind of have to go back to stereotypes because they're not really in contact with living artists. Yeah, they just sort of think art is something that you see in the museum. Okay.
Yeah, that's my feeling.
Okay. Tatiana, what's your experience been with this in the States? Do you find the general public values artists as professionals?
Oh, a definite and resolute no. However, I think about this quite a bit, and I have a big beef with this idea and the myth of the genius artist. And, you know, thank you, Vasari, and thank you, Italy, for that. Not pointing fingers or anything. But I think it's a very toxic myth. It's a very patriarchal myth. And I think it also created this idea that art is a divine inspiration. It's a divine gift. It is transcendent of anything of this mundane world. Therefore, the artist, the one with a talent, the gift, this is all in air quotes, should be grateful. And it's almost like a saint. You know, you don't charge money for being a saint and dispersing blessings. So I think that there's a lot of that myth around where the idea that being a creative is definitely a choice, and it's not a choice that is supported by the kind of traditional ways of being in the world. So you choose to be an outsider, you choose not to participate in the traditional middle class capitalistic pursuits of your vocation and employment. So therefore, like, your divine gift should be enough. However, I think this applies like very generally as a myth, but I personally have never experienced, because I know how this conversation started in the Facebook group, right? Because artists are being asked to do work for free. Somehow I have never experienced that myself.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we might come back to that later about why that might possibly be. And I think like that last question really sort of covers what I was thinking of asking next, which is, do you think your country values art? Why or why not? I mean, obviously in the States, artists are not valued as professionals, but do you think art is valued in the way that it is in Italy or in Europe?
I think that it's a very pocket niche universe that people who choose to be a part of value greatly. However, I don't think that the niche is very large. I think that there's a longer history, at least of uninterrupted history of art and art appreciation, especially in Italy. You are really surrounded by art, and I think it's a really large part of cultural and national identity as being this country steeped in not just antiquity, but then also the Renaissance. Like, it's a really important kind of, again, myth of identity building and nationhood building. Art has not really been a part of that mythos of what is America and Americanness about. You know, they try to push it in the whatever, all the CIA inspired or whatever supported abstract expressionism in the 60s as a part of the Cold War, but I don't think that that's a part of an average American's way of thinking, that that is who we are.
Yeah. Well, certainly in my experience of living in Spain, I've found that, you know, there is a much bigger general audience for art compared to my own country of origin in Australia. I think art is valued more here in Spain because everyone learns about art in the school system. Like, they all study art history from primary school. We never did that in Australia. Like, lots of people don't even think of going to an art museum, even though it's free in Australia. So I think definitely in my experience, Europe is somewhat better at valuing art and culture than maybe settler colonial societies like the United States and Australia. All right, so onwards and upwards. Do you think that there's an art buying audience in Italy? Chiara, you kind of mentioned that people thought that art was a fairly unattainable object that basically you just saw in museums. Like, is there an audience for buying art in your country?
Well, I think I think there is, but I think most of the time maybe people don't really know where to go to buy. I think there is an audience because still design is a big part of you know, when you design the house or you get in the house, you do search for certain things, but I have the feeling that it's a higher level that search these things. So probably they goes for a couple of €1,000 paintings on, but most of the time they don't really know where to find them. I mean, I'm speaking also from a city that is very small and is not artistic at all. We don't have an academy. We don't have a real art school. So we are near Venice, but it's still like distant. And so from my experience, we don't really know where to. I would not know where to go to buy art in my own city. So I feel that sometimes when I heard people buying, it's because they buy already famous painter of the area, maybe, but like people from the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, they don't really search for contemporary. It's really hard to see contemporary. I believe maybe bigger city, Milan and Rome, are better. I was just talking with some artist friend in Rome, and they said Rome is not really a good place to be an artist either. So maybe only Milan is left out.
Right.
And because probably it's the place that is more modern in Italy. And yeah, I think there is a market, but I think it, as you said, we study art. We don't study that much art as you might think. So probably there is this side of cultural side that we have about art, but it definitely needs to be educated more, and it should be more how can you say, like, pushed a bit more to get to know this.
Tatiana, what is your experience with the art buying audience in the US?
My art buying audience experience is primarily in Portland, Oregon, which is an interesting, unusual for United States town. But when I first started selling artwork here, and you know, I was nobody and nobody knew me, and I was just starting to paint, and people who were much more experienced and lived in this town thought that I was crazy trying to basically hustle paintings. They're like, nobody buys art here. We don't have an audience. It's not like the East Coast of the United States where there is like old money, old museums. There's a culture of collecting. But my experience of being here and doing this for 7 years has basically proven all of those people, all those artists wrong, because you have to create your own audience, and the audience connects to the artist's story. So more people I have met, more people have learned about me and watched my work through the years. None of the people who buy my work would self-identify as art collectors.
Yeah.
However, through being exposed to my work and relating to me and to this journey that they have been on with me, they want to own a piece of it. They want to support it. So I would say that there is absolutely a buying audience for contemporary artwork. I think depending on the economic status of the area, there might be a cap for how much an artist can really charge for their work. Yeah. But the market absolutely exists, but you have to create the market. It's not a ready to step in kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, they've found out that actually my generation, the millennial generation, are actually the most avid art buyers when they did a quick survey, and also that people are moving to buying online now, which kind of correlates with both of your experiences, using both online as a place to market and also a place to sell. All right, so that leads on to potential buyers who may try to undercut your prices or ask for artworks for free. Has that happened to either of you? I think, Chiara, you mentioned that you had an experience with a friend wanting to undercut you.
Yeah, I had this experience, and well, it did happen a few times. It usually happens when they know that you paint, everybody asks you for making a portrait. I don't know if you have the same experience. And in this case, it was pretty, I don't know, I mean, to me, it really was hard on me, because it was a friend that lives actually in Switzerland that has a very good paycheck, let's say, and I'm selling my paintings very cheap. They are very affordable.
Yes.
Also because I'm starting and I want to get known, and also because I'm also doing small paintings, so it's not that it's expensive things. And he knew that I was already selling them for lower the price than I was going to sell maybe in the future, and he already asked for a discount. And that was really annoying, because it really felt like not valuing my work.
Yes.
So and it happened a couple of times. This was the time
how
that
did you
it was
deal
more...
with that situation?
Well, actually, right now, the last time with this guy, I just told him that it really hurt me to ask me for a discount, because it really meant that he's not valuing my stuff, and that I would not make a discount, because I already had the lowest price that felt for me okay. And yeah, and actually it never talked to me again, but that's another topic.
Yes, it's another topic, losing friends. It's a big topic. Tatiana, you've never actually had this experience happen to you. Do you think that maybe comes into you valuing your work? Do you have any comments around how that works, how valuing your work and pricing maybe protects you from people wanting stuff for free or discounts, things of this nature?
I've honestly never had this experience before, but then even in the very beginning, my audience was always that of strangers. I don't really have, my personal circle is not folks who are really looking for art, or just because I'm making pictures, it doesn't make them want to have one of my pictures for free or otherwise. I just never had those requests. I have to say one thing, and this might be not exactly in relation to what we're talking about, but I think it's pertinent. More my prices have gone up, better my sales are. Now, it could be a correlation that I've been painting longer, my work is actually better and more appealing, maybe I have a bigger audience, but honestly, I have never tried anybody, I've never had anybody try to talk me down on a price. I have offered discounts to people who are buying more than one piece, and especially if they're buying expensive pieces. So I'm pretty proactive about it, and I'm very transparent about my pricing. And I offer those discounts. I offer discounts to returning clients, especially the ones who spend over a certain dollar amount. And I have friends and family discounts. But honestly, price high right away. Don't price low. That's my advice to beginning artists.
Excellent advice. Thank you, Tatiana. Chiara, do you have any final comments about valuing your work?
Well, yeah, I think definitely it's connected also to the value that we give to our art. Mm-hmm. For me, I have to admit that not coming from a art background, mm-hmm. It's harder to value my works as properly or as mm-hmm. art. I still probably undervalue myself, and therefore mm-hmm. probably that's also felt in the people that I come across. Okay. Probably that's definitely something that doesn't help at all.
Yeah, I think definitely valuing yourself is a really important thing as an artist. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me this evening for this podcast recording. It's so wonderful to start off Reflections on Art with you both, and hopefully I can see both of you again in future episodes.